Hi guys, this is Andrew with rockclass101.com, and in this week's ukulele lesson, Matt's going to be teaching you how to play 4 iconic Star Wars melodies on ukulele. So I got a chance to play through all of the melodies this morning, and I got to say that first off, it's super fun. And secondly, it is going to be the perfect level for the intermediate fingerstyle player. So it's going to be challenging for the intermediate player. Now, if you're new to Rock Class 101 and you want to see how we define the beginner, intermediate, and advanced player, I'm going to put a link in the description box below to our step-by-step guide, which not only defines each level, but also shows you what to be working on as a beginner or an intermediate player and what to have under your belt, what to have down before advancing to the next level. So be sure to check that out. Now, with this song, what we're going to do is we're going to split the lesson up into 2 parts. So this lesson, which is the part 1, you're going to learn the first 2 songs. And in the part 2 lesson, you're going to learn the next 2 songs. So if you want to check out the part 2 lesson, click this link right here, or you can go to the site, rockclass101.com, do a search for Star Wars Medley, and on that page you'll also be able to get the tabs that you can print off as a PDF format, as well as access the on-screen tab viewer. Now this is a really cool feature where you can hit play, watch the tab scroll across in real time, you can highlight bars to loop sections, slow it down to any speed you wish. Just a really great asset for learning this song that much easier. All right guys, so I'm gonna go ahead and hand it off to Matt to teach you how to play this. One thing I do wanna point out though before he kicks into the lesson is that the whole piece is played with a swung 8th note feel. So if you're new to understanding the difference between straight versus swung 8th notes, check out this lesson which goes super in-depth into the difference between the 2 feels. Alright, so I'm going to hand it off to Matt, teach you how to play it, and I'll see you at the end of the lesson.
This month we're going to learn a solo medley of some Star Wars themes, which I may or may not be a huge fan of. Super pumped about this lesson, and let's go ahead and dive right into the main theme, Melody A. So to start here, we have a pickup bar. So we're going to lump the pickup bar and the first bar together. And what we're going to be playing here are some triplet 8th notes. And we're going to be taking our index finger here, placing on the 2nd fret of the C string. When we do this, we can use multiple fingers to pluck them. So instead of just using the thumb, we can use our thumb and middle finger or thumb and index finger to get a little bit more speed, or even use your index and middle. Whatever works best for you is great. So as long as you're able to get those triplets. So we have, and then we go to the beginning of the bar, which is the middle finger here on 3 of the E. And then we're going to strum through 0, 2, 3, and we're going to be muting that A string with our index finger, just so that we don't hear it sounding through. Then we're going to add the pinky finger here on 5 of the A. And then we're going to do another strum. So the first bar plus the pickup bar sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and... Going into the second bar, this is the spice of the song. This is really hard and took me a while to practice to make it work, but I think this is the most efficient way to play these notes. This is where the high G of the ukulele really comes in handy for a sort of a campanella type style. We're going to take our index finger, place it here on the 3rd fret of the A string. Then our middle finger here on the 4th fret of the G. Then take the index off for the open on the A. And then we're going to slide our hand all the way up for the pinky on 10. Now as far as fingers used there, you definitely don't want to use your thumb exclusively. So I like to at least use my middle finger and thumb at the very least for that, so that they can alternate between the strings, going with the A, then the G, then the A. And we go up there to the 10. We follow that with a G chord. Stack our index finger to bar all the way across 7. Strum through that full chord. And then to sum up that bar, we're going to take our pinky, slide it all the way down to 5, add our middle finger here on 3 of the E, index finger here to 2 of the C. So that measure 2 really slow looks like this. If we were to play it in time, it's something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and going into measure 3, it's actually identical to measure 2. So we once again do our exactly the same. And going into measure 4, we're going to play an F chord. The way we do this is index finger on the first fret of the E string, ring finger here on the third fret of the A. We're not going to play the G string, so just the C, E, and the A. Strum through those 3. And then the 2 on the A with the middle finger. The 3 on the A again. Followed by a D chord played with our index finger, barred over the G, C, E strings, coming up and off for the A string to ring open. This is a D chord I've mentioned in some of the other tutorials I've done, and it's difficult, but well worth the practice because you get the flexibility of using one finger to play over all 3 strings. The difficulty is getting that separation for the A string. So if you find that really hard, it's okay to use the 3-finger method on D, but I really recommend trying to practice that single pointer finger. And then the end of measure 4 now is going to be the 2 on the C 3 times in the same way that we played the pickup bar. So measure 4 in time is something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And then as we go into the repeat here, we go back to measure 1. And that little pickup of the 2 on the C simulates the same thing as the pickup bar to the song. So we go through for the second repeat. Now, on the second ending here, you'll notice it starts off exactly the same with our F chord, followed by the D. But then instead of playing the D note 3 times, we only play it twice. And now we go into measure 6. Measure 6 is sort of the second section of this melody A. And to start, we play a C chord, but we actually don't fret anything on our ukulele. We keep it all open, play just the G, C, and E strings, and then the open E. Now we add our ring finger to the third fret of the A string, and the 2 on the A with the middle finger, open A, ring finger here on 3 of the E. So that measure is something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Going right into 7, we're going to play a G chord. And the way that we want to do this is with our index finger here on 2 of the C. But we don't want to place our middle finger on 2 of the A yet. Leaving our ring finger here on 3 of the E, we're going to play the G, C, and E strings together. Then the open A. Then add that middle finger onto 2. Open A. And we take our finger off for an open E. And then we go to our D chord, which we can play the same D chord we played prior, only we're not going to play the A string this time. We're just going to play the G, C, and E. We follow this up with 2 on the C 2 more times. So measure 7 sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Going right into 8, you're going to notice that's very familiar because it's actually played the same as measure 6. We're going to play the all open C chord, not playing the A string. Then we're going to play the open E again, followed by a C chord with the 3 on the A with the middle ring finger there. And then we're going to play 2 on the A and then 0 A. And this is where it's a small change. We're going to play an open G. And the reason has to do with the next bar. But before we go there, measure 8 in time should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Going right into 9, we're going to play a B flat chord, and we're going to play this 5, 6, 5. Index finger here on the 5th fret of the C string, ring finger here on the, index finger on the 5th fret of the C string, the ring finger on the 6th fret of the E string, and the middle finger here on the 5th fret of the A. So we have our 5, 6, and 5. It's basically a G chord just moved up the fretboard. And we're going to play those 3 strings, the C, E, and the A, to start measure 9. Then we're going to play the open A, and all that we do to do that is take off our middle finger. And then we're going to play a D chord. Now we can play it this way here with our index finger, or what I like even more is playing it with the 3-finger method. Index, middle, and ring fingers going on the G, C, and E strings. The reason I like this one even more is because the movement from the B flat chord here, that ring finger doesn't have to come off to get that sound. So we have our B flat, open on the A, slide down, move the other 2 fingers, play that D chord. We'll then complete that measure with 2 on the C twice. So 9 is something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Now we go to measure 10, and measure 10 is actually identical to measure 6. So we go... And then we go to measure 11, which is almost exactly identical to measure 7. So we start with... So all of that is exactly the same, but the final 2 notes played there, the 5 on the A twice, is different. So we're just going to add that pinky finger here on 5 of the A. So measure 10 and 11 in time should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And now we get to a really nice dissonant part. We're going to go to an A half diminished 7 chord. The way we do this, well, we should have been at this D chord, index finger barred across 2. We just slide that bar all the way up across fret 8. Then we add our middle finger here on 9 of the C string and our ring finger here on 10 of the A. So we have 8, 9, 8, 10. Play through all 4 strings. We take off the ring finger, so we have 8 on the A, 8 on the G. Add the ring finger on 10 of the E. So that first part is. Now from here we move to another A minor 7 flat 5, or A half diminished 7. Same chord, both scary names. Not so scary to play though, because all that we do is slide this index finger down to be across fret 3 of the C, E, and A, and add our ring finger here on fret 5 of the E string. We strum through all 4 of those strings, and add the pinky on 6 of the E. Take the pinky off for the 5 on E, then the open G. I think this is one of the hardest measures of the whole arrangement, so it takes a little bit extra practice. But that measure in time should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Going right into 13, we play a D chord, where we just bar all the way across with our index finger, add the pinky here on 5 of the A. And we're going to hold that for 2 beats before then we go to a D diminished 7. And the way we play that is index finger here on 4 of the G, the ring finger here on 5 of the C, middle finger here on 4 of the E, and pinky here on 5 of the A. You've probably played this full diminished chord shape before. You'll notice it's very uneasy, and that's because this is the transition into the next section of this medley. So that measure 13, sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Nice and simple. The entirety of section Melody A should sound something like this at a nice slow speed. 2 and 3 and... Now at this point, we're going to go into melody B. Melody B is the Imperial March, which is first in Empire Strikes Back with Darth Vader. One of the coolest themes ever. Geeking out a little bit with this. And the way that we play this is we get started with an A minor chord. Just plain and simple, take your index finger, place it on the 2nd fret of the G string. And then instead of strumming through all this, I like to pluck it. So I like to assign 1 finger per string, index on the G, thumb on the G, index on the C, the middle here on the E, and the ring on the A. And I like to pluck all 4 strings as I'm going through this. So I'm going to play an A minor chord 3 times. Then I'm going to slide down to an F minor chord, index finger down to 1 on the G, add the middle finger here to 1 on the E, pluck just the G, C, and E strings, then add the pinky on 3 of the A. And that's the first measure. So that should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Going right into 15, we then move back to the A minor chord, so the index finger here on 2 of the G, pluck all 4 strings. Then we go back to the F minor, the 3 on the A, and back to the A minor again. And we hold that for 2 beats. So that second measure is something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... As we go into the next bar here on measure 16, we're going to play a slightly different A minor chord. Go ahead and take your middle finger, place it on the 5th fret of the E string, and your pinky finger here on the 7th fret of the A. We're going to pluck just our C, E, and A strings together 3 times. And then we're going to stretch the pinky out to 8 on the A and add our index finger here to 4 on the E string. And the last note of that bar is taking our middle finger and playing the 5th fret on the G string. So measure 16 is something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Going right into 17, we're going to continue holding this sort of shape here and play the C and the E strings together, so the 0 and the 4. And then we're going to slide down, and this is where it gets a little tricky, because we're going to use that index finger to slide down to 1 on the E string, and we're going to play 3 on the A with the ring. We're going to take off the index when we do that so that then we can play for the last bar, the last chord, the A minor here with the index on the 2nd fret of the G string. So that measure 17 looks something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Now, that's sort of the first little section of the Imperial March. So let's go ahead and hear it in time with those 4 bars. So measures 14 through 17 should sound something like this. Going into the next part, we're going to use some harmonics. So if you haven't used harmonics before, we've got a video on it. Be sure and check it out. But essentially, you're just lightly touching the strings right on the actual fret itself, not on the on the actual wire, just like so. And so we're going to pluck those 3 strings, the C, E, and the A on harmonics on 12. And then we're going to play the open A twice, followed by harmonics again, the C, E, and A. Then we're going to play 11 and 10 on the A string. And I like to use my ring finger and then my middle finger for these. So I'm going to play 11 and then 10. So a little odd sounding in just this isolation of the measure, but it sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Now when we go to 19, we're going to play an E flat minor chord. Take your index finger, place it on the 9th fret of the A string. Our ring finger is going to go here on the 11th fret of the E string. And our middle finger goes here on the 10th fret of the C string. Very critical that you don't play your G string with this and just play the C, E, and the A strings all together. Now after you've played it, you'll notice there are these 16th notes that are being played here. Now, it's just a slide down with the index and a slide back up. So it's not really important to be counting that as the 1E and, as much as it is getting comfortable bringing that finger down and back up, maintaining pressure. Then we're going to play the 10 on the C and the 11 on the C, which are already there in the chord. Then we're going to take this index finger, which is on the A string, slide it down to 5, and then play 4. So that measure 19, sounds something like this in time. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Going into 20, that index finger is going to slide down again to fret 3 of the A string. We're going to add our ring finger here on 5 of the C string and our middle finger here on 4 of the E string. We're going to strum through those 3 strings. And we're going to do the same deal. We're going to slide down to 2 and back up to 3 with the index finger. And we're going to play 5 on the C, then 4 on the C, then 5 on the C, then 4 on the C again. So that measure, pretty straightforward, is like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Now as we go into 21 here, we're going to be playing an A minor chord. So we're going to actually switch our fingers. So our index finger was here on the 3rd fret of the A string. That doesn't move, but our middle finger is going to go on 4 of the C, and our ring finger is going to go on 5 of the E. And we're going to strum through those 3, 5 on the E, and 3 on the A. And then we're going to play that A minor chord that we played earlier with our index finger here on 5 of the E and ring on 7 of the A. So 21 is something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... So now it essentially repeats at this point. We go back to our harmonic section. So we have... So that measure is exactly the same as we played earlier, followed by... That's exactly the same until we get to there on 24. So 24, the way that changes is we start off with our same little movement, and then we're going to play 5 on the C, followed by 4 on the E, 5 on the C again, then 3 on the A. And then from here, we're going to play all open on the A minor. Now, we're jumping to this A minor chord shape, but it's okay to not fret it and just play the open strings on the C, E, and the A. So then we can get our hand set for that F minor 1, 0, 1, followed by the 3 on the A, and then the A minor. So that last measure sounds something like this in time. 2 and 3 and 4 and... So that takes us through the entirety of Melody B, which is the Imperial March. To hear it all in time, it should sound something like this. Again, nice and slow going through it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... So tricky for sure. There's a lot of movement taking place there, and it'll reward good muscle memory.
All right, guys, so I hope you had a lot of fun learning this song. These are iconic melodies that are just timeless, and they are a blast to play. They're totally worth the extra effort. I know this is a bit of a challenging tune that is at that intermediate fingerstyle level, but it's totally worth the extra practice time to get down. So guys, again, I just want to say that I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and we are looking forward to seeing you in the part 2 one. So if you want to check out the second half of the lesson, click that link, or you can go to the site rockclass101.com, do a search for Star Wars medley. Don't forget that on that page is also the tabs that you can print off, keep for your records, and that really cool on-screen tab viewer where you can interact with the tab in real time, highlight bars, loop sections, slow it down, all that fun stuff. So we'll see you in the part 2 lesson. Take care.